reckless to allow people to come out.
Welcome back to Talking Points. My name is Levi Kones. Tonight we are discussing a raft of issues, the political happenings of the week. And with me, David Oyola right here, as well as Joash Muricho and Cornelius Chepsoi, just to, mash out a couple of things. We don't have a lot of time, but we need to get through 3 topics real quick. So, right now, trending even right now, if you go to your Twitter pages right now, the trending topic is coronavirus Kenya. And, as I said, it has been brought about because of this China Southern plane that landed. If you do remember, KQ cancelled its flights to China. And then there are many other planes who have cancelled their flights to and from China following the breakout of the Wuhan virus. And, a lot of Chinese people coming from China and other people who have been living in China arriving in countries quarantined for up to 14 or 21 days to see if they have the virus before they are let into countries. And one of the things that is really upsetting, guys, is that this plane landed, these guys got off. They didn't seem to be much in terms of checking them for, whether they have the virus or not. In fact, not even medical equipment was being used by the people at the JKIA. And they're in the country and they've been told to self-quarantine for 14 days. And guys are livid. Are they justified, gentlemen?
Livid for who? I mean, these Kenyans that we are discussing are the ones who elected Sonko. They are the ones who elected Waititu. They are the ones who elected 2 ICC indictees. I mean, you're livid for who? Let's just wait for corona death to come. Then we'll deal with it when it comes. My point is very basic. Kenyans don't really value their own lives. In fact, on the contrary, we just must accept that Kenyans have a slave mentality. In other words, these Kenyans have handed over their life to politicians. Today, I just wrote something on Facebook about 2 days ago. Oh. I'll give you an example so that you know how colonized in our thinking we are. Tanzania has just launched its own SGR. It's 146 billion electric. Kenya, and 550 kilometers. Kenya did 327 billion for 480 kilometers to Nairobi. I'm just basically saying we are overrun by Chinese. The other day, 5 Chinese were arrested for beating up a Kenyan for coming to work.
They said it was a joke.
It was not a joke. That guy was whipped. They get taken to court.
So they
Matiang'i issues instructions for deportation. I mean, if you are in China today, you committed a crime, who will deport you? You will finish your jail term before the Chinese can let you go.
Correct.
And they will deport you at your own cost.
And they might even jail you for life.
Yeah. And I'm basically saying, let's be honest. If we want to be slaves, let us just accept. Write it somewhere on every road that we are slaves to a few people and deal with it. That's why I'm telling you. You asked me why I went to see Raila. I am actually perturbed at how this country is run. Look at what PBI is doing. We are a country of people who just like to talk about something and take no action at all. We are a nation that doesn't care. We have just been discussing the arms deal. And I'm telling you, 40 billion worth of arms is enough to start a war that will last longer than Syria's, will last longer than Rwanda's, will last longer than Uganda's, last longer everywhere. We have had everybody saying everything in the last few weeks, like there's no government in this country. I'm just telling you, we must start accepting that the responsibility of dealing with our life is not in the hands of a thief. And I'm no longer even worried about the politicians we elect. I am worried about the bureaucrats that are nominated by the political party in power. People like the Minister of Health, people like the Minister of Internal Security. They issued a red alert on one man who couldn't do anything, Miguna. Miguna, even if you brought him to Kenya, he cannot lead, a protest in his own village. But we issued 2 red alerts so his plane could not land. And the president in this country, I am no longer afraid of saying that man is enjoying his bottle more than he's thinking. We must start being honest and start talking about why we need government. Maybe we don't need government in this country. Maybe we need to agree that everybody should live their life the way they deem it fit.
And that is what BBI is coming to cure.
BBI will not cure anything.
BBI is proposing
any responsibility.
BBI is proposing that if you're a minister for education or health, you must be treated locally, and your children, if you're a minister for education, they also have to learn in public schools. And that's why we are dying behind BBI, because it looks like it is the
I am-
Jesus
you
for
know,
this period.
really.
Number two, I want to
I'm
agree.
not really sure, because
I want to agree
But I'll
with
let you
the-
slide because I'll come and ask you that question.
I want to agree with my friend that it's like we are on some kind of autopilot. Everybody is for himself. Nobody seems to be able to stand, even people that you trust. It is not only government. If you ask our friends here, how many relatives of theirs at the time that they needed support were able to stand behind them, they will tell you none of those relatives always disappear in the thin air, especially when you need them. So even if the government does the same way, it's the same African mentality. We have surrendered ourselves, we have given to politicians, and they're doing their good things. They're enjoying themselves. In fact, I know at this time we are in the studio here, they are in some brothels or some hotels, they're drinking themselves off. You'll hear that tomorrow one of them attempted to shoot somebody's neck. So that is the situation we are living in today. But I'm so glad that in all this situation, God has been very great on the Kenyan people. That this corona, and not even Kenyan, the African people, because I've not heard anybody in this corona scenario or thing. There's no black person that has been found to be tested positive of corona infection.
Are we waiting for that to happen?
That's what I'm saying. We are very grateful that it is in every continent. Except US, US has not reported any incident.
It has.
If countries like France, Iran have it, and African country, I think God lives in Africa, and I think God is black.
In fact, it was just us and the South Americans.
Yeah.
I didn't want to imagine that. I didn't want to imagine.
Reporting. Maybe we don't have remember the first case.
The mechanism to determine.
They said they have shipped the blood samples to South Africa. So perhaps we just don't have the capacity to.
No, they said now they have the capacity.
That is what we are.
I didn't want to imagine that my friends here wanted to blame BBI on coronavirus on BBI. but that having been said,
but it seems to have happened.
Yeah, I even don't understand how. But
he said BBI was the answer, and he said it can't be the answer.
But do you know, in this country where we seated right now, we have people who are dying of malaria in Baringo, that we cannot even contain malaria, simple malaria. And we are here inviting coronavirus into our country. We can't even control the locusts. It has invaded my county now, Bungoma, and my people want to eat it. And unfortunately, after landing in Bungoma, free manna, we are now being told that those things are very harmful. We should not eat them. A sad story, but we will have controlled those things in a week or so. Away from that, up to now, as we speak, we have Kenyans who are still...
those things manna.
We have people who are still stuck in China, Kenyans, who have not been brought to this country because we don't have, I don't know if we don't have the capacity or we fear them. We fear them.
Yes.
But we cannot allow them into a country. And those guys are suffering mentally, psychologically. Yeah, they are suffering psychologically. But today, we are allowing Chinese to come into a country, and I don't know who allowed,
the contradiction,
who gave that authority that plane should land at JKIA, and we have Kenyans at JKIA who are supposed also to check them thoroughly.
In fact, if you look at that video, the Chinese are doing this thing, and Kenyans were just like normally,
the Chinese
with them they are protecting
masks,
themselves.
The
they had
masks. Had no masks.
Had no masks. And it's a big joke. We're taking it so lightly.
I have read about the masks. The masks don't help you if you are not infected. You get what I'm saying? They are supposed to be used upon infection so that you don't infect others. It's useless. The mask is not going to help you. It's psychological. It's not going to treat coronavirus. My point is very basic. What exactly are Kenyans wishing for? They want to look like other countries, I guess. They want to have the coronavirus so that we can have some free money rolling around. That's what they are wishing for. I wanted to correct my brother. I used to think the politicians of this country are the problem. I figured out it's not the politicians. In fact, even the politicians are suffering. Let me give you an example. The politicians get elected in this country. They go to parliament. They get harassed by the executive, in this case the president and his deputy. And then they get names, suggested names by the presidency for PSS and CSS. Those CSS go through parliament through harassment of politicians. They really get harassed to put those names through, either by threat or by money. And they put those guys, they are broke because first of all, a politician has come out, I'm a cool one here, he has given everything, then you're told, if you put through this time, you get this amount of money. If you don't, they will put a case on you. So the guy decides to take the money. Then the guy becomes a CS and then harasses the politician. I mean, when you look at the CSs in this country, who are supposed to take responsibility for what they do? They are the serious problem. I'll just give you an example of Matiang'i. People have been arrested for committing a crime against a Kenyan. As soon as they are in court, they are in remand, the damn minister issues a deportation order, trying to negate a court process. The court hasn't asked for the deportation. The people who are accusing the gentleman are not asking for deportation. But the minister has already signed a deportation. He's trying to defeat the justice system. No, I'm just basically telling you, in this country, you elect somebody, and then it becomes your real problem.
No, Kones, I don't understand how you can allow a person who is flocking Kenyans for going to work late to quarantine themselves to protect those Kenyans. You know, you wait, after 2 or 3 days, you'll see someone saying, we've now put aside 2 billion or 3 billion to put up a facility that is going to be used to quarantine coronavirus patients. And trust me, a quarter of that money will be used for that. The rest will go into some people's pockets.
No, wait.
And that's the whole thing.
No, brother. Coronavirus is an emergency. China has built a hospital of 1,000 people.
2 now.
2 of equivalent in weeks. I mean, let's be blatant and honest. What can Kenyans build in a year? They could not put up a nursery school in a whole damn year. So when they say that they want money to build a hospital in Baghdad, Nifile tu money. That money, the president has said, and just so we are clear anyway, Levi. I know we're going to discuss in Nairobi.
I want to move us
there. I just want to tell you, the taps of Kenya are drying up. These people in government are desperate. There is no money to steal. And there's a competition. They are turning into everything. Even the HSA story, they are beginning to steal from private sector. These ones now want to steal money that is being donated to curb coronavirus. You know, there are countries in this world that are afraid of coronavirus. US, Canada, UK, all the other countries. They are trying to donate money to anybody affected by coronavirus in the hope that they can
keep it out.
This is the money these people you see running to JKIA are trying to do. To say, you see, Chinese have come to our country, they are probably carrying coronavirus. Now we need money.
Connect to be also fair with our government, I think if every nation has got their own challenges. I looked at the tweet that was posted by the Speaker of the US lower house, Nancy Pelosi.
Yes.
And she was blaming the president for having underfunded the CDC.
Yes.
You saw that tweet. And you looked at how Americans were reacting, and I just said, okay, kumbe they also have their own challenges.
They also make noise.
They also make noise.
Doesn't stop us
So we also need to support our government, and we also need. The only problem that we have is that because this country from independence is ruled by cartels, some sections of cartels in government, who knows whether Chepsoi should be a minister or not. These current cartels have failed us big time. Kenyatta had a very good cartel. Moi had a very good cartel. Kibaki had a very good cartel. Even though they are there,
to different quarters.
Is he actually beginning to compare
cartels?
Because we have to be very honest. We have to be very honest. Before Moi,
it's unbelievable.
We have accepted
stuff.
that
Guys, I need to switch something else.
Now it's the intensity,
that
the level of cartel.
I just need to manage, but that's a crazy theory.
Kenyans are watching us, and
Kenyans are watching
us.
us.
They are very much terrified. We need to speak hope to them.
Yeah.
All is not lost. We have good people out here.
We are good here.
Even God is on our side.
Yeah.
Well, but let us just be careful with Corona.
I am afraid, Levi, me and you are sort of age mates. These guys are slightly younger than us. I always get afraid about this idea that the people behind us are actually better than us. Did you just hear what this is? One of them is beginning to compare
cartels. I had it.
Cartel was good.
And I was horrified enough to say, let me just change gears to something else, because I can't believe that. I can't believe.
All is not lost. In the hope that is saying God is on our side. Let's just also be.
But God is on our side.
It is true. We all know. But let's also be bloody honest. We don't. The reason why we all have brains and we are not like animals, we are not cows, is because even God intended that by giving us a brain, surely we ought to use it. It was not. It's daddy. The thing that we carry on inside our skull is not.
Between our ears, as somebody would say.
It's not for beautification purposes because we cannot even see.
I hear you.
You are supposed to use it better than the other animals.
Well, guys, we will still keep an eye on it. What we advise people is you have to, they say you need to wash your hands for at least 40 seconds.
Yeah.
That will
If they
lose.
feel any sign, they go to hospital.
They
They go to the hospital.
Forget this white man's theories.
But let
This
This is come on now.
thing is airborne, my friend.
Yes.
It is going to catch you for breathing the same air with a coronavirus infectee. It's that basic. Don't use any other stuff. This is not HIV. It is not transmitted through touch. It is transmitted through air.
Yes, it is, which is why it makes it very lethal.
That is why this thing is lethal.
And the state has made 2 of the 3 parameters for a global pandemic. Anyway, we keep our eye on it and wait to see what happens. Let's take off into the last gear right now and talk about Nairobi County. Nairobi County was, for sort of all purposes and intents, seemed, as Mutula Kilonzo put it, dissolved. Would you guys agree with that particular assessment? Was it dissolved? Was it set aside? Was it handed? They say it was handed over to the national government. I mean, where do we go from here? And even today, by the way, there was even a joke running how even the lions have been taken as well.
Yeah, they were banned.
Although somebody banned them last night.
We should allow Muricho to go first.
Yeah.
On this matter,
You're the Nairobi County. What's happening at Nairobi County?
President Uhuru Kenyatta and Sonko have a mandate up to 2022. So the deal they enter on behalf of Kenyans and Nairobians, for that matter, can only last up to 2022. That's where the mandate gets them up to.
Yeah, it's
they cannot seal a deal.
24 months
They
from
can't
now,
seal a deal for a longer period. To dissolve Nairobi requires a constitutional change through a popular initiative. It's not something that someone just wakes up and appends signatures and it's done. So Nairobi County is still there. Come 2022, we shall be electing a governor, probably Honorable Tim Wanyonyi, Member of Parliament Westland.
Oh, come on.
So we shall have a governor
You
in
have to
2022.
stop campaigning here.
In 2022.
Yeah, for that kind of endorsement, by the way.
Back to the question.
And let me just
Nairobi-
be clear, as
Nairobi
a
residents-
As a station and a particular program, we are not actually advocating for the campaigns of Honorable.
Actually, I'm not
Tim
campaigning.
Wanyonyi.
I'm not
You are
campaigning.
campaigning, or any politician, for that matter.
Nairobians,
Yeah, just to be
just
clear.
like any other citizen in another county, have a right to enjoy the benefits of a county government. For example, the bursaries, the health, the roads. You know, if we deny Nairobians that privilege, it will not be correct.
Okay, I want us to move to the big
So-
question.
so
because
Nairobians will still have
real
their
quick,
governor.
gentlemen. Question number 1. What does this mean in terms of the working relationship going forward? Does it mean that MCAs still have a role to play? If so, what is that role?
MCAs are now like ornaments in Nairobi County administration.
What about the CCs?
CCs are also ornaments. And you see, my biggest question is that, was this process subjected to public participation? From the real voters that voted these guys in and gave them the mandate to
2.2 million
execute.
voters in Nairobi.
They have, and you see, these guys are represented in the assembly. Their voices in the assembly. That is where they put to account every expenditure that the governor does on their behalf. And that is why I had a problem. It looks so good from the outside, but it opens another very hidden.
A Pandora of questions.
Already we have 2 guys already in court. There's a young guy who's a voter who has gone to court, and this evening again, Okiya Omtata has already gone to court to suspend the execution of that agreement. Because if it was not subjected to public participation, I was expecting that the governor would bring such a motion to the assembly, to the speaker. It is debated and also taken to the Senate, and the senators look at it, and it goes that way.
Suspended.
And because it is not suspension, what the president has done is that he has not suspended the county government of Nairobi. Everything remains the same. The only thing is that they have used Article 187, which also talks about exchanging of duties.
Yeah.
That the national government can give some duties to counties.
Which they gazetted real quick.
And also county governments can do the same.
You know,
and that is the excuse they have done. But the biggest problem that they have done is that they have opened another Pandora's box for litigations and confusion and everywhere. And I think the writers of the Constitution did not oversee this kind of situation that we are in today.
You know, first of all, when you are talking about the Constitution, let's be clear. They say the law is an ass, and the Kenyan law is a real ass for that matter. So let's be clear. The Constitution did not say anything to do with public participation on this matter. Right? Because it says a function of power of government of one level, meaning county government or national government may be transferred to a government at the other level by agreement between the governments if the function of, and blah, 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 a lot of things. It never mentioned public participation. Hold on, just hold on. Number one. So first of all,
isn't there things such as, it may not be in law, but let me just ask, isn't there such a thing as goodwill, even information?
Not even goodwill, it is in law.
Even just, and
Well,
then
it is in law.
and then here's another
that's
question.
what I'm saying. This constitution, they have used Article 180.
Yeah,
Any
and then
reform.
here's a big question, gentlemen.
Yes.
Is that passing on legal? Because just the other day, Sonko tried to nominate a deputy. And what happened?
It is still in court.
It's in court. Actually, it's being debated whether he has the powers to do so.
To do so.
But after court already suspended him out of office and actually suspended him as acting. As
The
acting
question
governor.
you should
In
be
effect,
the question we should be asking is when the law says one government may transfer a function to another government.
Can it go both ways?
No, the question we should it can go both ways.
Can go both ways.
The question we should be asking is in whom is the power vested? Because in this situation, it is the governor that has transferred power. Is the power vested in the governor? Is it vested in the National Assembly? In whom is the power vested? This thing has been signed by the Minister of
Who has been
Devolution.
bad. The governor already has been bad. You see,
That's the
Gomez,
point.
What I wanted
So
to
the question we should be discussing
Yes.
is who has the power
To do that.
transfer.
because the simple
And that
question,
is going to be the point and basis
sim-
of debate
the sim-
in court.
the simple
I think-
question,
I
and
think-
that's
I
why
think-
why
I
told
think-
you
I
public
think-
participation is important. Now, who is going to oversight these roles that were given to the national government? Like if the MCAs want to know how much the county government money has gone to health, for example, whom will they summon into the assembly to ask
Which is
questions?
why I'm saying
That is
I
why
think-
public
I think-
participation
I think-
No, no,
is
that-
important.
I think-
that is why I'm
this
saying
is what
the
I think.
question is who can sign away a public function?
Let me
Is
let
the
me
government-
let
Yeah,
me let me
jump
say
in,
this.
Mauricio, let me help you come in.
This is what I wanted to say.
Yes.
The power is with the people.
Yes.
The people elect leaders to exercise that power on their behalf. It's donated power. In this case, Honorable Sonko was elected
So
as
are
a
the
governor of
MCAs.
Nairobi. So as the MCAs. And the MCAs have not been told you are no longer at work. In fact, some functions have been transferred
Actually,
to the
the
national
majority
government.
leader today
But
has
still,
said he is not aware of the agreement that the governor had with the president.
So what functions will they do? So when they call for
The-
a county assembly meeting, for example, when they sit down to talk, and health is not in the
Let-
docket anymore,
there are two things we can
development
debate
Or public accounts committee in the assembly.
roads not in their
Yes.
docket anymore. Should they have their committee meetings?
Because
in their
oversight.
committee meetings, what will they be discussing?
This is the point. That's what I'm saying. There are two things we can debate here. We can either choose to debate the legality of this thing,
Yes.
or we choose to debate
political.
the intent. If you
We
want
can
us-
do both. What is
that's
the
what I'm
intent?
saying.
Tell us.
Yeah, so
Intent
that's
is
what I'm saying.
cartels.
If you want us to discuss the legal idea or the legality of this matter, we will be here. until-
We also asking that because you see, that's the question wananchi is asking.
Yeah,
still
that's
MCAs are going to-
Inatuacha wapi?
This is why-
Tutakuwa aje yani
this is why-
moving forward?
this is
Pesa
why
yetu
I'm saying-
ikipotea county
this is
itaita
why I'm saying,
nani?
Levi, for the purpose of your show and for the benefit of the public, we must make a choice what is more important. What's more important in this situation is not the legality, because the intent...
The intent you will tell us in one sentence.
No,
I'll ask you
no,
one
no.
question. What's the intent and you will answer
Hold
it?
on.
Actually, the intent
Then we
is
cannot revolve around it.
Actually, the intent
because
is
we will have gotten the message.
the
of what
intent is Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko is on suspension. That means Nairobians are not enjoying certain services.
The rights,
So how do we handle this?
And by the
Nairobi itself does not have a deputy governor.
By the way, gentlemen, it is not lost on
So-
Nairobians that things are not working well. They know
Let me-
that.
let me
You know,
just-
we're not talking about some
It is
bush
okay.
county.
That is why
In
they
Nairobi,
say-
we have a lot of learned, intelligent people,
That is why
possibly
they-
the most learned in the country.
That is why
These
they
are not
say-
pushovers that you will just say this will happen this way, and they will not ask you a question
Let
about
us
it.
go back to history.
You
That's
know.
why I'm saying we must choose whether we want to discuss the legality or the intent. I think we should...
And the point I'm trying to make to you is this:
Yeah.
this is Nairobi. We can do both.
That's what I'm saying. In my view, let's leave the legality of this matter to the lawyers who will be arguing henceforth and umtata in court, because we can't finish it. And I can give you examples of things that have occurred in this country whose legality or the lack of it has never been determined by our courts, and it's become difficult to actually do it. Because remember, this is devolution round one. There are things that were not anticipated by the writers.
So the intent is to streamline. So
No.
when we talk about
Now, let's
streamlining
talk
Nairobi
about-
services,
And intent can also be to kill devolution.
Not to kill devolution.
What in my view
Actually to
is
promote.
the intent. The intent is not to streamline Nairobi. The intent here is that Songo plan cited some as he put it, cartels. Listen, lady, the taps of the national government of Kenya have run dry. The only place you can still get money on a daily basis in this country is not KRA. KRA is struggling to collect the money to pay China.
The counties.
The only place in this country where you can still make money as a cartel and as a registered thief is Nairobi County. I'll give you examples. Let me give you classic examples of why Nairobi is important to
So you're
cartels.
saying this was a move against corruption?
No, this was a move towards corruption.
The
Let's
bigger
be
thief
basic.
has stolen from smaller thief. Smaller thief.
That's an amazing thing.
I am telling
Tonight.
you, take this to the bank.
Yeah.
The taps have run dry to cartels and all those registered thieves. You can no longer go to national government and create a budget for yourself because government is broke. So any money that Kenya is receiving today, it's paying China. It is paying Italy. It is paying all donors. It cannot afford to pay cartels. Cartels have to find places where you can make money. I'll give you examples. How much do you think Nairobi Water collects? Nairobi Water collects between 800 million to 1 billion shillings a month. You tell me a government parastatal, national, that has the capacity to collect that money today.
Only the SGR.
Or parking.
But
parking.
it does not even meet
It does not
the
meet
cost
its
the
own
cost
cost.
of operation,
So I'm giving you
which is
example.
1.5 billion.
Remember, Nairobi is said to control 60% of the entire GDP of Kenya. I will tell you why people fight to become governors of Nairobi. Because every evening, money is collected from hawkers. Money is collected from water. Money is collected from electricity thieves. And that money is paid from matatus,
From borders.
from licenses, from border, from people who are arrested for standing on flower beds, from those people who are arrested from spitting and urinating in town. That money goes to people's pockets, my friend.
In fact, as we speak, maybe somebody is already 10 million
Richer.
in the pocket
I am
This
telling
evening
you,
only.
every day.
people like Polycarp Ikade could not be allowed to stay. In fact, Dandora dam site makes money for so many people in this country. You wouldn't believe it. That's
Yes.
why it cannot be moved. It cannot be reformed.
And if you try, you'll
Kenyatta
be
National
killed.
Hospital,
You'll be killed there.
Kenyatta National Hospital, and many other hospitals in this country that try to dispose of medical waste. Babies, abortions in this country is money for people, my friend. Syringes that are supposed to be incinerated. Do you remember?
Incinerated, yes.
Nairobi Hospital, I mean not Nairobi, Kenyatta Hospital bought an incinerator that is not working up to today. Have you ever asked yourself why? So I'm just basically telling you, my friend Levi, when you sit in this studio to talk about what ails Kenya, there are 1,000 other people who are laughing at you and wondering what is wrong with this man. This is money for people. This Nairobi is, I'll give you examples of things that Songo has tried to prevent, and that's why he had to go. Things like BRT did not occur because cartels were not going to make money, because Songo was recording everybody. And these are things that have been devolved. You cannot.
So you're saying again,
I don't know where Chepsoi gets this information.
I'm
He's
wondering
talking about
because-
cartels so
because
deeply. I don't know if
And
he's
when
one
I,
of them.
when I talked about
10
cartels, he was not
up to this
comfortable.
point.
No, that I was not. I understand. I'm just saying.
you
You are a cartel. You are a cartel member.
From government to government.
Cartels.
Yours was very cheeky. But what you're telling us, because listening to you, one just gets a picture of
disillusioned.
despair.
Yeah.
It's what it is.
There's no hope.
There's nothing you can do.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do about
I
it.
mean,
These things are so
look,
bad.
it was on the,
They-
let me tell you,
they-
it was on the
know,
papers.
they-
There has
Was
been a
Songo
delay.
fighting cartels or he was a cartel himself?
Oh, Songo was
Yes.
a cartel as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Personally, and I'm speaking from me, my own deduction. I'm going to tell you.
So why will
Remember,
cartels
there's
dump
an
him?
issue already. If you read the papers, there has been no approval of buildings. All right?
Yeah.
In Nairobi. And what did they say? It has cut 32% of construction work. I mean, there are people who've lost. People used to make money harassing contractors.
True.
I am a contractor. I know how badly I get
True.
harassed. That money goes into people's pockets, my friend.
Yeah.
It does not go to government. Have you
Even
ever...
the county quantities are there,
Yes.
the things they do.
I mean, Look at people who've resigned. Polycarp Igathe cannot follow.
So in the big picture, this move is going to end up doing what?
Worse.
The big picture, this move, it opens us so many doors for good and bad. In fact, for the worst is that it can be an avenue where the national government can realize that, oh, kumbe there can be a loophole in undermining devolution. And therefore, that is a very dangerous precedent. And that is why we like these guys who are going to court to challenge it so that we have the court interpret, because they are not in the constitution. We like Wakina Mtata the way they have gone. Let the court interpret this matter. Number two, if we look at Kenyans and their behavior in voting patterns, I think that's why BBI is also coming on the background, because this one will not be said in public. The status quo, or the status quo, has realized that this democracy, if you leave it unguided, this new voter, breed of new voters, they elect very funny people. People who, they have no management skill, whether they're thieves, but they bring their money at home to us, they will just elect them. And that's why they have to control it. Because I look at somebody like Sonko, Waititu, and these other guys that are not so much academically endowed. And at the time that they got into office, God gave a miracle to them to be governors, Kiambu and in Nairobi. You realize that, again, karma is a bitch, as they say. It also came back.
That is,
the karma is something they say.
Yeah,
you realize that
quite heavy language.
You realize that Sonko and his team and Waititu and his team, they still invested so much in being surrounded by people who look like them. People who are challenged academically, intellectually. They are not so good in management. And you realize that Sonko and Waititu, they put themselves in an oven, wakaiva, wakajipakua for the national government and cartels to roast them. I have no apology for them. In fact, I have no sympathy for Sonko and Waititu.
You know, what matters to a Nairobian today is not those legal jargons, the confusion about who is going to take.
It's service delivery.
What matters to a Nairobian is the quality of life is going to live in Nairobi. The amount of traffic jam they encounter every day. The business, how businesses are flourishing, security, is there water? That's what matters to Nairobian. And Nairobians have been under national government before. It's not a new thing. And life was the same. So I think the solution is in better leadership.
Okay.
And
we only have 10 minutes, so
yes.
I need to move us.
Wait, let me just
don't throw up spanner in the works and send us again.
I just want to remind Murijo, he started this thing very, very well.
Yeah.
Right?
Alianza na roho.
Very, very well. About devolution, he said power is with the people. And that's the whole idea of a constitution. So if we do not want Songo and the entire Nairobi County, we do not need a back door to take him out. We should have been afforded an opportunity to determine whether we want the county to continue or not.
And
that's
I think
the reason. If Songo has the power to hand over county functions as a man, as a sole man,
that is dangerous.
Then we do not need MCAs.
That is very dangerous.
We do not need a speaker, we do not need MCAs, we do not need CSEs, because we would have allowed Songo to run. That's why I'm saying, if Uhuru was a gentleman and honest leader, and so were the ministers in his government, and we were honest as Kenyans, if we were tired of a county, we should have actually allowed the public to do a referendum. Nairobians, forget about the entire country, to determine, like what they did in Makueni. Remember, Makueni collected signatures and decided they wanted to dissolve their own county government.
Yes.
Why haven't Nairobians been afforded the chance to determine whether they are okay with functions being transferred to national government?
Thank you. You're back to my initial questions, and that's very good. Because I was wondering, how can it happen?
That is why I was saying, because we don't have the time to discuss,
yes,
we must ask ourselves, the crafters of this agreement between Songo and national government, because
what is the intention?
What is the intention? The intention is what was important. They intended. Remember, there was supposed to have been a ministry called the Ministry of Metropolitan in Nairobi Metropolis, and it was resisted by Kenyans because it was a backdoor way of killing Kiambu, Kajiado, Machakos, and Nairobi. They wanted to carve out Nairobi as a capital city because devolution had defeated the intention of people who wanted to control the capital city of Kenya. One day, Kenyans are going to run out of this concrete city, and we will leave it empty for them.
I think I doubt if Kenyans have been, or Nairobians for that matter, have been locked out from deciding on this matter. I think they still have a chance to make that decision because
it's not possible.
because BBI is in the process of collecting opinion.
I want to bring us on the BBI
from every other county, and Nairobians are going to make their contribution
about BBI because with everything that has been happening with BBI, and I'm glad you brought it up, with the whole issue of what we saw in Masai Land and the divisions that came up between you know, the
Ledamo,
forces
Lekina,
and the forces
yes.
of Emurua Dikir MP, Ngeno, and what the country was saying. Now moving on to Garissa, you guys saw that too? Yeah?
Division also.
The division there also.
Mount Kenya.
And then now going to Meru
Same.
this particular weekend. This BBI.
You know, what has been happening in Kenya is that we've been playing ostrich
take
politics.
Take it as your closing
We've been playing
Yeah.
ostrich politics for so long. We bury our heads and believe we've hidden our nonsense. You know, what happened in Kajiado by Narok by Ledamo Lekina, he just expressed what we've been hiding and pretending that it doesn't exist. These things exist, and for us to find a solution to these things, we have to talk about them. You know, there is a serious disease affecting us, and we've been dealing with symptoms every now and then. And for us to get to the bottom of this whole matter is to cure the real disease, to go for the roots. Let people talk about these issues, historical injustices. Let them bring them up so that we handle them, face them head on. Let's not hide and pretend that everything is okay. Ledama was not speaking for himself. And if you want to know, look at the Maasais. He was speaking for his people. And let's not brush him over and say, you are just inciting people.
Moving on as you close, moving on.
Moving on as we go, BBI is actually digging these issues that have been affecting this country for so long, so that we come up with long-lasting solutions.
You guys are lighting fires everywhere you go.
No, that's not lighting fires.
There's no fire. And you're not putting them out. We haven't put out the Narok
and actually,
but on to we
are actually bringing out the fire that has been hidden. You know, we've been covering it with blankets, but the fire was there. It's not like it wasn't there. We're now bringing it out so that we talk about them. And
so
that was the whole, that was the whole concept about BBI. People to talk to each other.
The president.
Sorry.
Let Oyola finish.
The president.
You want to finish last so that you can hammer them both as you close.
No, he's joining BBI, so he needs some orientation. That's what we are doing. The president gave us instruction in Bomas. Let us have a honest conversation so that we can be able to decide our destiny. Talk about those issues that have been bedeviling your people ever since independence. And I'm glad my friend Olekina is doing the same. But again, Kenyans are hypocrites. Either they're just hypocrites. When BBI was in Kisii and they're talking about powerful prime minister and we need to decentralize power because there's a lot of concentration up there that everybody want to kill each other to be there. And when they all the way until the time they go to Kajiado, they were saying it is about seats and seats. They're not talking about Ndungu land report and all those reports. Now when Olekina came out openly to talk about the Ndungu land report, historical land injustice, our people have been having this thing. Now Kenyans have now changed gears. They're now saying, oh, you are inciting people, you are inciting people. Well, those were the issues they wanted BBI to address from the word go. So my final parting shot to every viewer that is out there, let us support BBI and let us have very honest conversation. Talk about anything. I'm glad that in my counties in Nyanza region, they talked about nothing. It is very sad that there's nothing you can talk about that. In fact, if President Uhuru was supposed to do this dissolution or hand over some powers, he could have gone to Nyanza, taken all roles, because there's completely nothing. In fact, that's why I'm so proud to be staying in Wasin Gishu.
Brilliant.
A Maasai name, Wasin Gishu.
My brother,
Wasin Gishu is a Maasai name.
Our two brothers here are as confused as BBI itself. Because let me tell you why. And I'm glad they brought up this issue.
Yeah, and close
and
that.
compare it with Punguza Gunia.
So
that is a high boot, and it has been noted.
Let me tell you. Do you notice who are running BBI? The bulk of the people who are actually taking over BBI. I don't know if you've noticed. It's actually governors. Most of these BBI trains, if you look at the one for Meru, for example, the highest number of attendees for the planning meeting was basically the governors of Meru. I'm going to tell you, Mount Kenya, I'm going to tell you the risk of BBI. My brother here is saying Ledamo Lekina is bringing up issues to do with the Maasais.
Yes.
Just like Costarians also brought out the issues.
This is why I'm saying Costarians are speaking. In other words, these two gentlemen here are helping us balkanize this country back to tribe. Yet, I keep repeating this thing. These gentlemen have read that document, but they did not internalize anything on it. Because the top page of BBI reads, from a country bound by blood to a country bound by deals. But they keep repeating Maasai, they keep repeating Luo Nyanza.
But we can't run away
Hold
from it.
on. They keep repeating Costarians, meaning they are taking us back to everything bound by blood. That's not my issue. I'm just reminding them they missed the biggest point of BBI. Secondly,
Lastly.
yeah, secondly,
Lastly.
whether it's going to be lastly or not,
Lastly. Yeah.
my point is,
Yeah.
my point with this BBI is when it is over and done with, the real BBI will come up. The thing that we are discussing now has nothing to do with BBI.
So kuna kitu ingine.
It is a government's clever way of keeping Kenyans busy at each
Okay.
other.
Yes or no answer to close. Is there another thing behind the scenes?
No, Chepsoi wants to treat
Gentlemen,
symptoms,
you see,
not the
I haven't
disease.
I didn't
But our time is up.
It's
I'm
not
sorry,
like
we
was
can't
not allowed
allocate
to close.
more time.
That is why
I
We have
gave you
to go
time
for
to
the
close.
disease.
You wasted it
You
all.
see, let
Not
me-
symptoms.
you're
Or just
finishing.
hammering this gentleman.
I want to say
No,
my
no,
last-
no, no.
I am
He's
going to say my last
actually, he's
statement on
actually
this
shooting
BBI.
himself in the foot.
I'm going to say my last thing.
Yeah.
Welcome to BBI.
15 seconds.
BBI is going to end in a month or two. At least what we are seeing. The meetings that they are making.
They're ending,
It will end and wind up in a grand rally in Nairobi. That will give birth to BBI 3.
referendum.
Because BBI 1 ended in Bomas. BBI 2 will end with a rally in Nairobi. BBI 3 will start from there, which will be an organization for a
Commissions.
referendum to define what really
talking about.
Raila and Uhuru want us to do.
That's a
By
constitutional
that time,
process.
this is my conspiracy theory. You can keep it and take it to the bank because it will happen. By that time, Kenyans will be thinking about who they are electing and who they are not. We'll have forgotten. This is like malaria queen and pandemic.
I got you.
I am so
We are
sorry.
going to end on that note.
There will be nothing good out of
That
BBI.
is talking
is the
points
future.
tonight.
Oh,
Gentlemen, no
Just-
more, no more,
I'm
no
not- I'm
more,
not
no
discussing.
more.
I just want to
No
remind
more.
you.
He wants
You
to
know
know.
what a boomerang is?
I know what a boomerang is.
It is going
Goes
to
and comes back.
Very bad.
Right.
It's cut.
Thank
Punguza
you.
gunia.
God bless you. Good night and see you next week. All right.